Amanda's mother coughed blood into her palm, just as the landlord's fist hammered against their door for the third time that morning. "Open this door now, or I throw your things outside," he roared, his voice shaking the thin walls of their single room in Mushin. Amanda pressed a threadbare towel to her mother's lips, her hands trembling as she counted the bloodstains. More than yesterday, darker than last week. They had exactly 2,000 naira left, enough for either one day's dose of her mother's diabetes medication or a bag of rice to last the week. Not both. Never both. "Mama, lie down," Amanda whispered, easing her mother back onto the foam mattress that had long lost its shape. The older woman's breathing rattled like stones in a tin can, each breath a struggle that tore at Amanda's heart. Outside, the landlord's threats grew louder, uglier. 3 months behind on rent. No more excuses. No more time. Amanda's phone buzzed. A message from the catering agency. Her heart leaped. A last-minute booking for tonight, serving at a charity gala hosted by Mike Obi, the billionaire philanthropist. The pay was triple the usual rate, enough to buy medicine and keep the landlord at bay for another week. She had to take it, even though it meant leaving her mother alone in this condition. "I have to go to work, Mama," she said, already pulling out her black and white server's uniform, the one she'd washed 12 times this month, mending the tears with careful stitches that barely held. Her mother's eyes, clouded with pain, found hers. "Those people in Victoria Island, they look at us like we're nothing," her mother wheezed. "Be careful, my daughter." The rich, they step on the poor without even knowing. Amanda forced a smile she didn't feel. "I'll be invisible, Mama." Just like always. 3 hours later, she stood in the basement of the Civic Center, surrounded by 24 other temporary servers, all of them wearing the same desperate look. The look of people who needed this job more than dignity. The event coordinator, a sharp-faced woman named Chisom Okafor, paced before them like a general reviewing troops. "Listen carefully," Chisom snapped, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her clipboard. "You are replaceable. One mistake, one complaint from a guest, and you're out. No pay, nothing." Her eyes swept over them with practiced disdain. "The guest of honor is Mike Obi. He owns half of Lagos. He funds this charity. You do not speak to him. You do not look at him. You serve and disappear." Amanda nodded along with the others, but something cold settled in her stomach. Mike Obi. She'd filled out applications for his foundation scholarship program before her father died, before she'd had to drop out of university to care for her mother. To serve him now, in this uniform, felt like the universe's cruel joke. As they prepared for service, Amanda noticed something strange. Near the bar area, a bartender she'd never seen before was arguing with a man wearing a baseball cap pulled low over his face. The man pressed something into the bartender's hand, a brown envelope, thick with cash. They both looked around nervously before the man pointed to a specific champagne bottle marked with a tiny blue sticker, barely visible unless you were looking for it. The bartender's face went pale. He shook his head, but the man grabbed his collar, hissing something that made the bartender nod frantically. Then the man melted away through a service door, leaving the bartender staring at the marked bottle like it was a snake. Amanda moved closer, pretending to polish glasses. The bartender, hands shaking, took the marked bottle and set it aside, separate from all the others. He prepared a single champagne flute, and beneath it, he folded the corner of a white napkin. A tiny, deliberate mark. Blake Adams, Mike Obi's CFO, appeared at the bar. "Is everything ready for the special toast?" he asked quietly. The bartender nodded, unable to speak. "Good," Blake said. "No mistakes tonight." Amanda tried to focus on her assigned tasks, but her eyes kept returning to that marked champagne bottle. Something was terribly wrong. The bartender, she heard someone call him Santos, kept wiping sweat from his forehead despite the air conditioning. Every few minutes, Blake Adams would glance toward the bar, checking, confirming. Even Chisom Okafor, who should have been managing the event, kept looking at her phone and then at the champagne station. The main hall transformed as wealthy guests arrived. Politicians in expensive agbabas mingled with business titans in Italian suits. Actresses dripping in gold jewelry posed for photographers. Amanda recognized some faces from newspapers, people who could buy her entire neighborhood without blinking. She moved among them like a ghost, refilling water glasses, clearing plates, invisible as always. Then Mike Obi arrived. Amanda expected arrogance, the swagger of a man who owned half of Lagos. Instead, he entered quietly through a side door, stopping to shake hands with a janitor, asking the man about his family by name. He thanked the sound engineers, complimented the decorators. When he reached the teachers and nurses his foundation supported, people in simple clothes who looked as out of place as Amanda felt, he embraced them warmly, listening to their stories with genuine interest. "Mr. Obi," one teacher said, tears in her eyes, "the books you sent to our school in Ajagunle changed everything. My students, they believe in possibilities now." Mike's smile was real, reaching his eyes. "Sister, you change their lives every day. I just provide tools." Amanda watched from behind a pillar, confused. This wasn't the heartless billionaire she'd imagined when her scholarship applications were ignored. This was a man who seemed to care. So why were Blake and Chisholm planning? Her thought froze. Santos was opening the marked champagne bottle, his hands trembling so badly he nearly dropped the corkscrew. Blake Adams materialized beside him, whispering something that made Santos pour the champagne into the marked glass with the folded napkin. One glass. Just one. Amanda's heart raced. She needed to tell someone. She approached the floor captain, a stern man with a permanent frown. "Sir, please, there's something wrong with the champagne service," she whispered urgently. "That bottle, the bartender, Are you the beverage manager now?" The captain snapped. "Get back to work before I call the agency and have you blacklisted. We don't pay you to think." Dismissed and humiliated, Amanda retreated, but she couldn't let it go. Her mother's words echoed, the rich step on the poor without knowing. But Mike Obi hadn't seemed like that. He'd been kind to everyone, even the cleaners. And now someone wanted to... The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC boomed, "please welcome our host's fiancé, Chisholm Okafor." Amanda's blood turned cold. The event coordinator was Mike's fiancé? The same woman coordinating with Blake. Chisholm delivered a perfect speech about charity and giving back, though she never mentioned specific students or schools. Her smile was brilliant but empty, like a mannequin's. When Mike took the stage next, the difference was stark. He spoke without notes, thanking teachers by name, announcing new rural school construction projects, telling stories of students who'd succeeded thanks to community support. The crowd erupted in genuine applause. Everyone except Chisholm and Blake, whose smiles looked painted on. "And now," the MC announced cheerfully, "a special toast to generosity led by our chairman." Everything moved fast. Santos picked up the tray with the single marked glass. Chisholm intercepted him smoothly, taking the tray herself. She walked directly toward Mike as he descended from the stage. At that exact moment, photographers surged forward, creating a wall of flashing cameras that blocked Mike's security detail. Mike reached for the offered glass, the marked glass with the folded napkin. Amanda's mind screamed. If that champagne was what she thought it was, if Blake and Chisholm had done what she suspected, Mike Obi would be dead in seconds. She thought of his kindness to the janitor, the teacher's tears of gratitude, the schools he was building. She thought of her mother, dying slowly in their single room. She thought of the scholarship that might have saved her life before poverty crushed her dreams. The crystal rim touched Mike's lips. There was no time to shout a warning, no time for security to respond. Only one option left. Amanda ran. Amanda's feet pounded against the marble floor. Security guards turned, reaching for her, but adrenaline made her faster than she'd ever been. She dodged a server carrying a tray, leapt over a dropped napkin, her eyes locked on Mike Obi as the champagne glass touched his lips. Her fist connected with his jaw. The crack of impact echoed through the silent hall. Mike's head snapped sideways, and the champagne glass flew from his hand, spinning through the air like a crystal bird before shattering on the floor. The golden liquid splashed across the white marble like spilled sunshine. For one heartbeat, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Chisholm screamed, "She's attacking him! Stop her!" Two security guards slammed Amanda to the ground. Her face pressed against the cold floor, inches from the spilled champagne. Pain shot through her shoulder where a guard's knee dug in. She could smell the champagne, sweet, but with something else underneath, something chemical and wrong. She's insane! Chisholm shrieked, playing the terrified fiancé perfectly. I've seen her following Mike! She's obsessed with him. Blake Adams rushed forward, pointing at Amanda with theatrical outrage. This is attempted assault! Call the police immediately! But Mike Obi, holding his jaw, raised his hand. Wait, he said, his voice strained but clear. Don't hurt her. Amanda twisted her head, managing to gasp out, Test the champagne, please. Look for the blue sticker bottle behind the bar. The folded napkin, it marked his glass. They're trying to kill you. Some guests laughed nervously, thinking she was deranged. Others stepped back, suddenly afraid. But Mike's head of security, a man named Dennis, had worked with Mike for 15 years. He knew his boss's enemies, knew the threats. His eyes met Mike's, and something passed between them. Nobody move, Dennis commanded. Security, seal the bar area, now. Chisholm's perfect face cracked slightly. This is ridiculous. You're listening to this crazy Maid? But Dennis was already pulling out a chemical test kit from his jacket, something he carried always, a habit from years of protecting powerful men. He knelt by the spilled champagne, careful to avoid the glass shards. With a cotton swab, he collected the liquid. He found the bottle with the blue sticker behind the bar and swabbed that too. The entire room watched as he mixed the samples with testing solution. 5 seconds passed. 10. Then the indicator strip turned dark red, the color of danger, of death prevented. Poison, Dennis said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Fast-acting, lethal dose. The word rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Poison, murder. The champagne had been poisoned. Santos the bartender collapsed to his knees, sobbing. I'm sorry, they paid me. They said they'd kill my family if I didn't. He pointed a shaking finger at Blake Adams. He paid me 50,000 naira. He gave me the poison. Blake's composed mask shattered. That's a lie. He's trying to frame me. But Dennis was already reviewing security footage on his phone, connected to the venue's cameras. There on the screen, clear as day. Blake handing Santos the brown envelope. Chisholm intercepting the tray to ensure Mike got the right glass. The coordination, the planning, all of it captured in digital clarity. No, Chisholm said, backing away. No, this isn't... We were just what? Mike asked quietly, standing now, his jaw already swelling from Amanda's punch. Just trying to murder me. The police arrived within minutes, their sirens having cut through Lagos traffic. As they took statements, Santos broke completely, confessing everything. Blake had approached him a week ago. The plan was simple. Poison Mike during the toast, make it look like a heart attack. With Mike dead, Blake would take control of the company. Chisholm would inherit as the grieving fiancé. They'd already been stealing money through fake contracts, but Mike had started asking questions, started auditing. This was their solution. Amanda remained on the floor, her arms still pinned behind her back, watching the truth unfold. The guests stared at her differently now, not as the crazy maid who'd attacked a billionaire, but as the woman who'd saved his life. She thought of her mother, probably wondering why she hadn't come home yet. She thought of the rent they couldn't pay, the medicine they couldn't afford. Mike Obi walked over to where she lay and said something that made the guards release her immediately. Mike helped Amanda to her feet, his hand gentle despite the bruise spreading across his jaw. You saved my life, he said simply. Tell me everything you saw. Standing there in her simple uniform, surrounded by Lagos elite and police officers, Amanda found her voice. She described the man in the baseball cap, the brown envelope, the blue sticker that marked death. She explained how she'd tried to warn the floor captain, but was dismissed as a gossip. Her words were clear, precise, without embellishment, just truth. The lead detective, a woman with sharp eyes, took notes. Why did you punch him instead of shouting a warning? There was no time, Amanda said. The glass was at his lips. Even one sip. She trailed off, the weight of what almost happened settling over the room. Meanwhile, the police examined Blake's phone. They found messages to offshore accounts, evidence of embezzled funds, and most damning, a text to Chisholm sent an hour before the event. Tonight, our future begins. Chisholm tried one last desperate play. She grabbed the microphone from the frozen MC, tears streaming down her face. Whether real or performed, no one could tell. Mike, baby, they forced me, she cried. Blake threatened me. I was scared. You know I love you. But Mike's expression was stone. You supervised the catering staff! You personally handed me that glass. You knew exactly what was in it. The police handcuffed Blake first. As they led him past Santos, the bartender cried out, "He said if I didn't do it, he'd destroy my family." He knew about my sick daughter, said he'd make sure no hospital in Lagos would treat her. Blake's lawyer arrived, expensive suit and cold eyes. But even he couldn't argue with the evidence. The security footage, the poison test, Santos's confession, the financial records, it was overwhelming. As they handcuffed Chisholm, she dropped all pretense. Her beautiful face twisted with rage. "You think you're some saint!" she spat at Mike. "Building schools while I played the perfect fiancé. Do you know how boring you are? How righteous? Blake and I were taking what we deserved." The crowd gasped. Several people recorded on their phones. By morning, this would be all over social media. The billionaire's fiancé and CFO attempting murder for money. Dennis approached Amanda quietly while the police worked. "The girl who sees everything," he said, with something like respect. "Mike wants to speak with you privately. Will you come?" Amanda thought of her mother, alone and sick. "I need to call home first." "Of course. Use my phone." Her mother answered on the first ring, coughing. "Amanda, are you safe?" "Yes, Mama. Something happened, but I'm safe. I'll be home soon with good news." In a quiet office overlooking the Lagos skyline, Mike sat across from Amanda. The celebration continued below. Nothing stopped Lagos parties, but here it was peaceful. Mike held an ice pack to his jaw. "I owe you my life," he began. "But first, tell me about yourself. Who are you?" For the first time in years, someone with power was actually seeing her. Amanda told him about her father's death, dropping out of university, her mother's diabetes, the endless cycle of poverty. She mentioned, almost in passing, the scholarship application she'd sent to his foundation. Mike pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. "Amanda Ike, applied 3 times. Excellent grades." He looked up, his expression troubled. "You were approved twice. The rejection letters were fake." "What?" "Blake controlled that department. He was selling slots meant for students like you." Mike's jaw clenched, not from pain, but anger. "How many dreams did he steal?" He opened a folder, pulled out documents. "Your mother needs treatment. I'm arranging for her to see the best endocrinologist at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. All expenses covered. Your rent for the next year paid, and—" He paused. "I want to offer you a job." Amanda's hands shook. "Sir, I don't want charity. I just did what was right." "This isn't charity. You see what others miss. You notice patterns. You act when action is needed. My foundation needs someone like you. Someone who understands the community we're trying to serve because you've lived it." Through the window, Amanda could see the police cars below, red and blue lights flashing. Tomorrow, everyone would know what happened. But tonight, for the first time since her father died, she felt hope. "There's one more thing," Mike said. "We're opening a new scholarship program. I want you to help run it." The next morning, Amanda woke to her phone buzzing endlessly. Unknown numbers, reporters, people who'd never noticed her existence suddenly calling. The story was everywhere. Maid punch his billionaire to save his life. But Amanda ignored them all. She had more important things to do. At Lagos University Teaching Hospital, her mother lay in a real bed with clean sheets, an IV drip providing fluids and medication she'd needed for months. The doctor, personally sent by Mike Obi, explained the treatment plan: insulin, dietary management, regular monitoring, all covered. "Amanda," her mother whispered, holding her daughter's hand. "What did you do?" "I saw something wrong, and I fixed it, Mama, just like you taught me." 3 days later, Amanda stood in Mike Obi's foundation office in Ikoyi, wearing her first business suit. Not expensive, but clean and professional. Through the glass windows, she could see the Lagos business district sprawling beneath clouded skies. The same city that had crushed her for years now seemed full of possibility. "Your office," Dennis said, showing her a small but bright room with a desk, computer, and most importantly, files of scholarship applications. "Mike wants you to review these, find the real students, the ones like you who deserve a chance but keep getting overlooked." Amanda opened the first file. A girl from Makoko, brilliant grades despite studying by candlelight. Rejected 3 times. Amanda recognized the false signature, Blake's work. She marked it, approved, urgent. The trial happened 2 months later. Amanda testified, clear and unwavering. She described everything she'd seen, despite Chisholm's lawyer trying to paint her as an attention-seeking opportunist. But the evidence was undeniable. The jury didn't need long to deliberate. Blake Adams, guilty. 25 years for attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. Chisom Okafor, guilty. 20 years for conspiracy to commit murder. Santos the bartender, guilty with cooperation agreement. 3 years, suspended sentence. As they led Chisholm away, she turned to Mike one last time. "You'll die alone with your righteousness," she hissed. Mike didn't respond. He was looking at Amanda, who was comforting Santos's wife, promising to help find him work when he'd served his time. That was the difference between them. Chisom saw only herself, while Amanda saw everyone. 6 months later, Amanda stood before a packed auditorium at the University of Lagos. Beside her stood 20 students from the poorest parts of Lagos, Ajagunle, Makoko, Mushin, her students, the ones she'd found and fought for, whose applications had been buried or ignored. "These scholarships aren't charity," she told them, her voice strong. "They're investments in your destiny. I know because I was you. I know what it's like to have dreams bigger than your circumstances. But I also know that circumstances can change in a single moment of courage." After the ceremony, Mike found her organizing files in her office, working late as always. "You know," he said, "you never finished your own education." Amanda looked up. "Someday, when the program is stable." "How about now?" He placed an admission letter on her desk. "Full scholarship, business administration, night classes so you can keep working." Tears she'd held back for months finally fell. "Sir, you've already done so much." "Amanda, you saved my life by seeing what everyone else missed. The foundation has helped more real students in 6 months under your watch than in the previous 2 years. This isn't generosity, it's justice." A year later, at another foundation gala, this one with triple security, Mike stood to give his speech. But first, he called someone to the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Amanda Ike. A year ago, she served drinks at an event like this. She was invisible to most of you, but she saw a murder plot that everyone else missed. She risked everything, her job, her freedom, her life, to save a stranger. Today, she runs our scholarship program. 60 students from forgotten communities are in university because of her. She's also top of her business administration class." The applause was thunderous. Amanda stood there, no longer invisible, no longer forgotten. She thought of her mother, healthy now, proud. She thought of her father, whose death had seemed to end everything but had led her here. Sometimes the worst moments create the greatest destinies. "To the people who see," Mike raised his glass. Water this time, everyone noticed with nervous laughter. "To the courage of the overlooked. To the Amanda Ikes of this world, who remind us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear serving uniforms and throw the perfect punch." Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and comment at comment section below.